Hello, Facebook. See, I'm going to wait a minute and then I'll get started because I know that they will save this video and you can go back and watch it at your leisure. The link that it said that it would start on did not work, so I hope there aren't two Facebook Live videos out there that are going on at the same time simultaneously. This is my first time doing Facebook Live, so I hope this is working. It looks like it's working on my end anyway, and I've tested it. Oh my goodness, I had some technical issues earlier today. First of all, I couldn't get Facebook Live to work, but I finally got it to work. Worked out the sound, worked out the video, so hopefully you all will jump on and let me know that everything is going well. I'm also going to be using my phone just in case I get any notifications or anything like that that say that you all can't see it or something. So far, it looks like it's working. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll tell you a little bit about my story and why I started homeschooling. My oldest son, he started reading at a very early age, and now that age was 2. He started reading at the age of 2. And when it was time for him to go to school, there were really no options for us at that time. And a neighbor of mine said, well, why don't you consider homeschooling? And I thought, well, I didn't know what homeschooling was. I didn't know what she was talking about, what it meant. She explained to me what homeschooling was. I looked into it. I was like, okay. I was already doing that anyway, as many parents probably have done as well. That is teaching colors, alphabet. I mean, we've already done that because he was reading, but basically we were already homeschooling, or I was already homeschooling. And my homeschooling situation looked like me creating flashcards. It looked like me, teaching him how to count, all of those things that most parents do when they have toddlers at home. So that's what homeschooling looked like in the beginning for me. And then as they got older, I created my own curriculum for a minute. Then I started buying curriculum, and now they are self-directed learners. They kind of do their own thing now, but I'll go into more of that later. But I have one, my oldest son is now in college. I have a daughter that is in the 8th grade and a son that's in the 10th grade, and he will be doing dual enrollment this coming fall. So what is homeschooling? Well, there's no right or wrong way to homeschool. That's the first thing I want everyone to know. There's no right or wrong way to homeschool. Homeschooling is all about knowing your children, knowing what your child's learning styles are, knowing what it is that they need, and also just creating an environment that will allow your child to develop and grow and hopefully become lifelong learners, which I think all parents probably agree. They want their children to be lifelong learners. I have notes over here that I'm looking at, so if I'm looking over, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, so lifelong learners, you want to do that. Now, homeschooling, there are several different types of homeschooling styles. There's the relaxed, eclectic style, which is sort of what I do. My homeschool looks like we use some books. We don't necessarily sit at a table. We go out and we learn in the park. We might sit on a park bench. We might go to a college library, maybe go to our public library, a museum. We may learn on the go. We travel. When we travel, we usually try to do something that is surrounding whatever they're learning, or we may just pick up something. If we're in another city, we may learn something about history, or we may go to their science museum or anything like that. So that's what homeschooling looks like in my house. Now, we started out with school at home, which is what a lot of people, hi, Jackie. A lot of people start out homeschooling at home using curriculum. I mean, that's how we started because I needed the structure. I did not know what homeschooling was, and that was the closest thing to school that I did. So people are familiar with that. You buy your books, you sit down at the table, you get your lesson plans, all of those different things, and you sit down and everyone learns at the table. You're the mom or the dad or whoever, they may teach your child. So that is the school at home curriculum. That is the school at home homeschooling style, which a lot of people probably think that homeschooling looks like, because it's probably the closest thing that models brick and mortar school. And then there's unschooling. And unschooling, there's no curriculum. Learning is through experiences. You do what interests you. You get up when you want to get up. You do what you want to do. That doesn't mean that they're not learning, because I actually know a family that unschools, and 2 of their daughters are in Spelman now. They're honor roll students. And they got scholarships too. So you can learn being an unschooler. There's lots of unschoolers that are learning, and they're thriving, and they're doing well. So I know it sounds very radical and weird that you don't have books and you're not sitting down. There's no schedule, there's no structure, but a lot of that learning is through experiences, it's through hands-on, it's through, they may create their own business. There's lots of things that unschoolers do where they succeed. There's classical homeschooling, which is really a lot of memory work, and that's usually done in groups. And all of these different types of homeschooling situations are online if you want more information. There's Charlotte Mason and Waldorf. And then there's online schools. Now, I just want to say something about the online school. Hi, Mom. Hi, Stephanie. I will do that. So there's online schools. There's K-12 and there's Cyber Academy. Those online schools are not traditionally considered homeschooling because they are public schools that you do at home. You have public school teachers. They take care of all of your records, your grades, and you report directly to your public school, your local public school, or your Department of Education. So those are not considered public school, home schools per se. You're just doing your public school work at home, but you still have public school teachers and you still are under their governance or whatever. And so those are the different types of homeschool. And again, my style is relaxed, eclectic. The only thing that's pretty much structured in our house is they have to get up in the morning, and we have a time in the morning for our first subjects, which is biblical studies, and then we do PE, and then once a week we'll do hands-on with science experiments, because Jacob and Jalen, my 8th grader and my 10th grader, in 2 different grades, but we do high school biology together so that she can get so she can have some hands-on with the experiments. So we do that together once a week. She does other science on her own online. She found a program that she uses, and that's what she does her science with. And so does Jacob. He does the biology as well as science that he found online. To be honest, I don't know exactly which science he's doing outside of biology because their interest changes so much. So anyway, getting back to the types of homeschooling. So yes, those are the 5 main types of schooling situations that you all can look into. Again, that's relaxed and eclectic. That's unschooling. That's the school at home curriculum model, which a lot of people are familiar with. And there's classical, Charlotte Mason, Waldorf, and then online school. In Georgia, there is a online school where you can take classes a la carte. It's called Georgia Virtual School. You can take up to, I guess, 4 or 5 classes, and it's free if you register before they run out of the scholarship money that's available to people who want to register. And that is not with the public school. You are still responsible for getting your own grades. Your child will have their own teacher, though. You're not the teacher. There is another teacher, but they don't keep records for your grades and things like that. Okay, so so how do you start homeschooling? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to contact your local Department of Education. Once you contact your local Department of Education, and that's really you just going online. You go online, you need to see what their requirements are. And most states that I've looked into, they pretty much have the same requirements. They want you to complete a declaration of intent, which basically says that you are establishing a home study program in your home, that your child age usually is 7. That's when, if you decide to homeschool at that age, 7 and through high school, of course, you're going to establish a home study program, and you need to submit that form in Georgia within 30 days of establishing your home study program. And then annually thereafter by September 1st. So for instance, if you decide this summer, I'm going to start homeschooling, you need to go on to the Georgia Department of Education website, complete the declaration of intent form under homeschool. They have a homeschool tab, and you want to make sure you send that in within 30 days. So if you want to start your homeschool on August 27th, just make sure you send it in by at least July 26th or something like that. Send that in, and that's all you have to do. That you do not have to submit attendance forms. You do not have to submit a report card. You do not have to submit test grades or any of those things. You are required to, in Georgia, you are required to test your child every 3 years through high school. Now, those tests are your responsibility, and you keep them just like you would your taxes. There are 2 tests that homeschoolers take. There is the ITBS, which a parent who has a college degree can administer on their own. And then there's the CAT exam. And the CAT exam can be administered by a parent. Again, that parent does not have to have a college degree. So those are the 2 tests. You can, again, administer those tests on your own, or there are some homeschool groups that you sometimes get together, and they will have someone administer the test for a group, so the parent doesn't have to feel the pressure of testing their own child. Trust me, I know about that one. So to get started, you want to make sure you contact your Department of Education so that you can establish your home study program. The second thing you want to do is establish your goals. What are your goals for homeschooling? What is it that you want to see at the end of your homeschooling journey? I know some people who homeschooled up until high school. That was their goal. They wanted to make sure that their child had a good, firm foundation before they went to high school, but they also wanted their child to experience some of the things that they experienced in high school. And with just saying that, homeschoolers do have proms, we have graduations, you can create your own yearbook. So those things are not lacking, but some of those people that I know, they wanted their child to get scholarships to play sports. So they wanted to homeschool through up until high school so that they can go and play sports in their school, so they can have an opportunity to get some type of scholarship to go to college. So think about your goal. How long do you plan to homeschool? And if you plan to homeschool through high school, think about those classes, those courses that your child will necessarily need to get into the school or schools that they are interested in, or whatever their career goals. So, for instance, my goals were to create opportunities that fostered learning that matched their interests and goals. So that meant that I was going to make sure that I offered each of my children, because they all have different goals, opportunities that fostered their desire for the things that they were interested in. My daughter, she wants to be a chef, but she is also innately an entrepreneur. My son, my middle son, he wants to be an engineer, and he is great at science, great at all of those different things. So I made sure that I created opportunities for him to be able to get involved with science. I mean, he's done robotics for several years. He's done not just robotics, but he's done several STEM he's been involved in several STEM organizations and clubs, and has been awarded for different things with that. And then my oldest son, he knew that he wanted to go into psychology, so I made sure that he was involved in volunteering and things at church, things that allowed him to have some interpersonal experience so that he can just prepare himself for college and just to get an idea of what that experience is like. There's not too many things that I could do outside of like public speaking and things like that to prepare him for psychology, but the experiences with dealing with different people outside of our home environment and just making sure that I, again, gave them all opportunities that fostered their interest and enhanced their, and I wouldn't even say enhance, but allowed them to be able to tap into their interests and goals. That was my goal. So that was my goal for homeschooling. And you need to think about what your goal is. And my end goal was, when we're done, when they have graduated, when they have met that mark that they wanted to reach, we were working backwards. So we knew, for instance, my son Daryl, he knew he wanted to go into psychology. So basically we worked back. He knew what type of school he wanted to go to. We knew what classes he needed to take. So not only just classes, but experiences. I made sure that we had experiences for him to be able to have, so that helped him when he went away to school. And I'm doing the same thing with my middle son. I'm trying to give him experiences so that he can be prepared when he goes to Georgia Tech or wherever school, Howard, Hampton, whatever school he's prepared to go to, that he would have those experiences, that he would have the all of the information that he needs to get prepared for school. So let's see, I'm trying to look good. It is, yeah, you kind of want to look backwards and, again, make sure that they have those experiences. So as a homeschooler, you know, when you're filling out those transcripts, colleges are going to look to see, well, what were you involved in? What did you do? What kind of experience they want? That's what they look at as for homeschoolers. You know, when you're in high school, they look at your transcripts, of course, but sometimes they look at, you know, the clubs and things that you're on. Homeschoolers have a great opportunity to not only put volunteer work on there, they can put these experiences on their resume. My son was a volunteer at the Fernbridge Science Museum for 2 years. And so he was able to put that on his resume, because not only did he interact with the patrons that came to the Science Museum, but it was sort of like a job. He got to learn about the different fossils and things, and he had to tell the children, he spoke to the children about the fossils that he was showing. So you want to, again, that was my goal. You want to think about what your goals are, and you want to stand on your goals and stick to them, because it's not going to always be easy. There are going to be some times where you feel like, why am I doing this? Just like any other thing, you need to just really think about what your goals are and just stick to it, and just know that it's not a sprint, it's a journey, and you'll get through it. Another thing that people want to know is, how much does it cost to homeschool? Okay, so homeschooling can be free, or homeschool can cost a lot of money. It can be free because, thank goodness for the internet, we have so many things, so many resources that you can look up on the internet. There are games that they can play when they're really young. There are websites. Khan Academy is a great website. There are so many things on the internet, and there are things like Discovery Education, which has every subject, every language that you can possibly think of. They have lectures, they have videos that usually cost. Now, if you're not homeschooling, it will cost a lot of money to use Discovery Education, but in Georgia, homeschoolers get to use it for free. And I'm not sure about other states. It may not just be Georgia. There may be other states where it's free, but Discovery Education has a site where you can access thousands of videos, lectures, even online textbooks if you want to use them. We actually did a year of Spanish using Discovery Education. So it can be free because you have the library, you have museums, you have books on your own bookshelf, I'm sure. There are just so many things out in the world that we can use to teach and to expose our children to when it comes to learning. So it can be free, but there is curriculum available that costs anywhere from $25 to $800, depending on what it is that you're looking for. And all you have to do is do a good Google search and you will see the list of curriculum that's available. And there is a homeschool conference that's coming up, or expo, that's coming up in July, I believe. It's every year. It's the Southeast Homeschool Expo. And just about every vendor that sells homeschool books and curriculum, they will be there. And it's a great place to visit if you get a chance to go and that not only do they have the vendors there, but they have a lot of good, what do you call those things? Talks. You know, they have speakers. They have speakers that come there and they give a lot of good information. They talk about what homeschooling is, sort of what I'm doing right now, to give you information on how to start homeschool. What is homeschool? They talk about what your legal rights are. I mean, just it spans the gamut of the information that is available. So look into that if you're in the Georgia area, the Southeast Homeschool Expo, I believe that's what it's called. So that's something to definitely look into. So I talked about how to start. So again, contact or go online, check out your Department of Education, fill out your declaration of intent, establish your goals, and again, the costs, they vary. And I will say something else about starting your homeschool and, going on your webpage. You will find that, because some people ask me, well, do you have to have a college degree? No, you do not have to have a college degree to homeschool your children. And you'll find that information on your state's Department of Education. But you do not have to have a college degree. So why homeschool? This is other than establishing your goals, you need to know your why. My why was not to protect my children from public school drama. My why was not to protect them from the ills of the world. No, my why was, again, to be able to continue to foster to be able to create an environment where they want to be lifelong learners. I wanted them to know that schooling did not begin at 8 and ended at 3, and it's from Monday to Friday, and it only occurred when someone was dictating information to them. That was my why. And I think we can all agree that a successful education really is about a parent being involved in their child's education, whether you homeschool or your child is in a public school. So know your why. I wrote something down I'm going to look at. So I now realize that homeschooling has provided my children with a quality education that a public school isn't set up to provide. Now, I have family and friends who work in the school system, and they want to do so much more, but they just can't because of the constraints of money and just the size of the classroom. There are things that my children are able to do that they would not be able to do in a public school unless you go to a school like Ron Clark Academy. And there are schools out there like that do give you this wide range of creative ways of learning. And those schools do foster those opportunities for them to be able to tap into their skills and their interests. But most 99% of the schools can't offer that because of the class size, because of the money, because of the way the school system is set up. And that is one of the frustrations that a lot of my friends who are teachers feel, because they want to do so much more, but they just can't. It's the opportunity if the opportunity was there, I think public school would be so much more. It would be so much better. But my why that's my why. And you also have to know your why, because there are going to be times where your family, your friends, or even strangers are going to question your decision. I still have family members that, and they're really, you know what? I still know people. I'm not going to say family members, but I still know people who still look at us sideways like, why are you homeschooling? And how long are you going to homeschool? And that is because it's, to them, they grew up in a generation where that just wasn't something that they did. You went to school, you went to school, you got on the bus and you came home and you did your homework and that was it. So you have to know your why, because you're going to have those questions. And again, yes, strangers will question you. I still, get questions, which is weird to me, because if a child who is in school has like a doctor's appointment, would you walk up to a stranger and ask them why your child is not in school? I get those questions. So you need to be prepared for those type of questions and know what your why is. So stand on your why. Know that your journey is not to please someone else, but your journey is for your child. It's for your family. And know that your reason for homeschooling is for the betterment of your family, for your child. And just remember that. Your why may be the freedom. Oh, that's the other thing. Your why may be the freedom to be able to learn at a pace that is beneficial for your child. My son, as I told you in the beginning, started reading when he was 2. But maybe your child is a whiz at math and maybe they're struggling with reading. That's the great thing about homeschooling, because you get to pace how your child learns. You get to give them the things that they need so they can develop in the areas where they're weaker. In a traditional school, you either pass or you fail, or they just push you along and you may not have learned it. And so with homeschooling, you get to pace how your child is learning. If they're not grasping something, then you work on that. Or if they're really interested in something. I mentioned my son, Daryl. He wanted to go into psychology, but he loves science. Now, one year, I believe this was 8th or 9th grade year, he took 3 science classes in one semester, which you cannot do in a public school. He did astronomy, oceanography, and biology. He was just so interested in it. That's what he wanted to do. So, of course, you allow your child to do that. That's what they're interested in, and that's what you allow them to do. I have one of my children is not the best writer, so we do a lot of things with writing and reading. I think reading helps develop a writing skill. So we do a lot of those things. And again, so one of the whys is also having the freedom to pace how your child learns and to help them develop in areas where they may be weaker, and allows you to be creative in even doing that. And again, creating an opportunity that will foster their growth. So I also wanted them to know that you don't just learn Monday through Friday. Learning happens every day, and it doesn't just happen at a table where we're sitting down with each other. We learned in the grocery store. We learned when we did errands, when someone had a dental appointment, there was learning there. There's learning opportunities everywhere. And you're not just learning from your peers, you're learning from the people that you interact with. And so that brings me to some of the myths, some of the advantages and disadvantages. And I have to tell you, the biggest and the most frustrating myth about homeschooling is the socialization thing. For homeschoolers, at least for me, and I don't know if anybody else on here can testify to this, but as a homeschooler, it's like having the nails on the blackboard when someone says, well, what about socialization? I have yet to meet a homeschooler who was not social. I just haven't. And I've met plenty of homeschoolers, and not just in homeschooling groups, but just in out and about. So the socialization thing, homeschoolers are not just isolated. It's not like solitary confinement where your child is locked up in their room or, and they're sitting in front of a book and they have no friends. Homeschoolers have friends. If you're a part of a church organization, you have your friends there. You have your friends that are associated with other homeschool groups. We have been in some great homeschooling groups in our journey, and some of them are still friends. My children are still friends with a lot of them. And these groups are set up so that really, you know what, to be honest, I think for the parents to get together and bounce off ideas with each other, but also for the children to get together and so they can have fun and do things together. So the socialization thing, to be honest, I'm probably not the best person to debate this question because I don't understand it. I don't understand how a 5-year-old can help another 5-year-old to socialize, because they both have, they're still on the same developmental level, and homeschoolers get to interact with people that are older than them and are younger than them in an environment that is not usually available to students who are in, say, a daycare, or everyone in the 5th grade is the same age. Now, culturally, there's also the availability for homeschoolers to interact with people of different cultures. I've been in homeschoolers where it was multicultural. I've been in homeschoolers where it was all African American. I've been in homeschool groups where we may have been the only other Black family or African American family in the group. But the socialization thing is, I'm not really sure where that comes from. And someone who maybe has a psychology degree can probably debate that with me, and then maybe I'll understand. But I don't really get it, and I'm sorry I can't really touch on that other than to say that homeschoolers are very social. I've heard nothing but good things, especially from college professors that have homeschoolers in their class. They say that they are not just well-mannered, but they seem to adjust really well because they just seem to be more mature, I suppose. I don't know. Okay, so there are homeschool groups. In Atlanta, there's an awesome group, Kid Cultivators. They're on Facebook. You can definitely get in touch with them. That's a great homeschooling group led by Leslie Bray and Taiwan Owens. So look into that if you're looking for a homeschool group. And they're in the, I would say the mid-late, they try to meet somewhere where everyone can meet together. They do have meetups in Decatur. They do field trips on the West End. They try to do some things in Atlanta City proper, but that's a group. There is the South East Homeschool Field Trip group. On the South Side, we used to have so many. They disbanded. But look on Facebook. You will find a homeschool group that will fit your needs and your child's needs. So homeschool groups do exist. They're out there. So definitely look into that. Meeting academic marks. Okay. So I know that some people are concerned about, well, okay, if my child is homeschooled, how do I know that they're meeting their academic marks? I think even though I've been homeschooling for almost 17 years or so, that's something I still, I wonder, are they meeting their marks? But every single time a test comes up or every single time they are challenged with something, I find that they have not only sometimes met their mark, but they have exceeded their mark because they have that freedom to learn in a way that helps them to understand, I suppose. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to always excel at everything, but they do they tend to meet their academic marks without any problems. And when you see that they're not, again, you have the freedom to go back and help help them to see where it is that they're missing. You can get a tutor. You can go to Kumon, or there's so many places that you can go to help them with that. And that's the other thing I wanted to say. There are homeschoolers that use places like Kumon, Kumon. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And I'm trying to think of the name of the other education place, but that you can go. There are co-ops. I know there is a co-op indicator where basically parents have gotten together. Some of them decide that they're going to teach a specific subject, and they may meet 3 times a week. Your child goes in, that parent teaches that subject, and you as a parent who may not be teaching just volunteers for a couple of hours to help out, and you all swap. And they have, they'll have rules and regulations and things like that set up. And this is really just, again, for those parents who want the socialization thing. This is for them to be able to do that, but it's also a way for parents who may not be a great science, have a great science experience, or maybe that great at writing, or maybe not that great at math. And they have, this community of other parents who can pitch in. There was a parent who was an astronaut, and she decided that she wanted to help teach with the math. And so that's what she did. And I'm not sure where this woman is now, but she used to travel around and she taught biology. She would have a biology lab, actually. And she used to meet right down the street from me, but I'm not sure what her background was. I think it was in medicine, but that's what she did. She would just take out 2 days a week, and she would meet at our local church, and she would have a biology lab, and she opened it up. She charged a couple of dollars, and then you go and you have this biology class with the lab. So those opportunities are there. There is no end to what you're able to do if you go out and find it. I promise you, your child will not be lacking. They will not miss the academic marks. You don't have to worry about that. Again, homeschoolers do participate in sports. There is a homeschool prom here in Georgia. There are several. There is a homeschool graduation. Of course, all of these things you also can create on your own. You can have a prom for your child. You can have your own family graduation. You can do these things. If your child is interested in art, you can take classes at the High Museum. Again, homeschooling does not mean that you have to stay at home. You can create opportunities for them. You can go out and find opportunities, or you can make opportunities. For instance, I didn't make this opportunity, but I'm thankful that it was given to us. This Friday will be the 4th year that Jacob and Jalen have been invited to speak at Career Day at an elementary school. It's an opportunity that now this is something that Jacob can put on his transcripts. This is an opportunity not only for them to teach, but for them to learn. So you have the freedom to be able to bring all of these things into your home and to give your child all of these opportunities for them to learn. And again, if they want to learn music, you can bring someone in, or you can go out and find something for them to do to be able to play their trombone or their drums or whatever. You don't have to be in a band, or you can create a band, or you can go find a band for them to get involved with. The opportunities are there. I watched a TED Talk, and I'm going to wrap up. I watched a TED Talk the other day. It was a 13-year-old. He's unschooled. This young man was interested in snowboarding. His snowboarding idol also makes these hats, baseball hats, or snapbacks. He found his snowboarding hero has a business in his city. He went there, talked to him. He's 13 now. He has an internship there, and he's learning how to stitch the snapbacks and learning about the business as an unschooler. So there's opportunities out there. I'm going to try to see some of these. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to say is I know someone asked me about Warren Buffett. That was another opportunity that was given to them. My daughter, she thought of a business idea. Her and some of her peers and her brother got together. They entered a contest, and out of 4,000 students, they were chosen, and they competed against 2 other teams. And they were flown to Omaha, got to meet Mr. Warren Buffett, present their business idea. It was a great opportunity for them. Again, this is something that someone in public school can do too, but I'm just saying that the opportunities for homeschoolers to succeed is there. You just know your why, stand on your why, know your child, know what it is that they, what their learning style is, what it is that they need, and then know, stand on why you want to do it. So know your why. Remember how to start. Remember what homeschooling is, that there is no right or wrong way to homeschool. Homeschooling is not a carbon copy of public school. It is what you make it because of what your child needs. And so I think that was my 45 minutes. It's 42 minutes actually. And I appreciate everyone who was able to log on. And I hope that the information was helpful for you. And if you have any questions after the live has ended, I will check back in on Facebook and speak to you all or answer any questions that you may have. But I appreciate everyone who logged in tonight, and hope that the information that I gave you will make your decision to homeschool that much easier. All right. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.